As a newly hired employee, he knew very little about the hotel or its dark history. However, only a few days into the job, his senior coworker told him that what he had experienced was normal there. But to him, it was something so disturbing that he decided he could no longer stay, and he ultimately resigned. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up. If everyone's ready, let's begin. This new employee, we'll call him Mr. Witcheye, was in his mid-20s when it all happened. After months of unemployment and a fruitless search for new opportunities, he decided that moving to a smaller province might help. Lower expenses, he figured, and an escape from the noise and stress of city life. So he packed up, left home behind, and relocated to a quiet province, hoping to begin a new chapter in his life. Not long after arriving, he spotted a help-wanted sign and, without hesitation, applied. It was for a front desk clerk position on the night shift at a local hotel. The place was in urgent need of someone to cover the overnight hours, and the position came with solid perks: free accommodation and decent pay. Mr. Witcheye assumed the night shift would be easy. Fewer guests, fewer problems, far less hassle than the daytime rush. Convinced, he took the job. The hotel was a 5-story building that had stood for decades, its age showing in every worn corner. Despite sitting in a tourist area, it felt strangely quiet and empty. Most of the rooms were still in service. However, because the hotel rarely had enough guests, management decided to close the entire 5th floor. They planned to renovate that floor first once the hotel began its full-scale renovation. With so few guests to deal with, Mr. Witcheye didn't find the job particularly stressful. He worked alongside a senior employee who had been with the hotel for many years. On his first night, he mostly focused on learning the computer system, the procedures, and the daily routines, sitting quietly behind the front desk and assisting the occasional guest who came by. Business was thin, just as he'd expected. There was a little activity in the early evening, but once midnight struck, the hotel fell completely silent. Mr. Witcheye sat quietly at the front desk, waiting out the hours. Around 1 a.m., the senior employee stepped out for a break, leaving him alone at the front desk. He kept himself busy with small tasks, going through whatever work he could find to make the time pass. About 30 minutes later, he flinched. In the dead silence, the front desk phone rang. He glanced at the display. The call was coming from room 502. He picked up immediately. At first, all he heard was static, crackling faintly around a woman's voice.
"Could I please have an extra blanket? It's really cold in here."
The moment she finished, the line went dead. Still new to the job, Mr. Witcheye wasn't sure what to do. He pulled up the guest records on the computer, and what he found surprised him. Room 502 was listed as vacant. No one was registered there. And then it hit him. He remembered that the entire 5th floor had been closed off for years. There was no way anyone could possibly be staying up there. Piecing it together left him more confused than anything. Who had called? And why would someone in an empty room ask for a blanket? With no clear next step and no way to call the room back, he decided to wait. If it was urgent, he thought, whoever it was would call again. Half an hour passed. He kept waiting, but the phone stayed silent. When the senior employee finally returned from his break, Mr. Witcheye told him what had happened. The senior employee didn't seem to care much. He simply replied,
"Don't worry about it too much. The internal phone lines glitch sometimes. The building's old. Stuff like that happens."
That was enough to ease Mr. Witcheye's mind. He let it go and put the incident out of his thoughts. His first night shift ended without any further trouble. The next night, though, at almost the exact same time, it happened again. After the senior employee left for his break, Mr. Witcheye remained alone at the front desk. The clock crept slowly toward 1:30 a.m. Then, suddenly, the phone rang again. Mr. Witcheye glanced at the display screen. The number calling in was, once again, room 502, exactly like the night before. This time, filled with curiosity, he picked up the receiver without hesitation. A woman's voice drifted through, mixed with crackling static.
I'm cold. Could you bring me a blanket?
Her voice was faint and trembling, like someone slowly losing the last of her strength. Now, Mr. Witcheye felt a bit creeped out. Still, he tried to stay professional and calmly asked, "Which room are you calling from? Is there anything I can help you with?" But there was no answer. The line simply went dead. A quiet sense of unease followed him for the rest of the night. That evening, Mr. Witcheye decided not to mention what had happened to his senior coworker. He assumed the answer would be no different from the night before. The next morning, though, he chose to ask his supervisor directly instead. To his surprise, or perhaps not, the supervisor's answer was almost exactly the same. He simply said,
"Don't worry about those calls. They're nothing. Just focus on your job."
Hearing this, Mr. Witcheye realized that these strange calls were nothing new to the people who worked there. No one paid them any mind, and no one seemed willing to explain. The third night, just like the previous two, nothing about the atmosphere seemed any different. After his senior coworker left for break, Mr. Witcheye once again sat alone at the front desk, quiet and watchful. At around 1:30 a.m., almost as if scheduled, the phone rang. He answered. The same weak voice whispered,
I'm so cold.
Then the line fell silent again. 3 nights now, and still no one would explain what was going on. His curiosity only deepened. He desperately wanted to know what was really happening inside room 502. Around 2 a.m., his senior coworker returned from break. Mr. Witcheye made an excuse, saying he needed to use the restroom. But instead, he quietly slipped away toward the guest elevator. He pressed the button for floor 4, planning to make his way upstairs. Since the entire 5th floor had been abandoned and permanently sealed off, the elevator no longer stopped there. It only went as high as the 4th. Anyone wanting to reach the 5th floor had to continue on foot. Stepping out of the elevator, Mr. Witcheye climbed the old emergency staircase. A thick layer of dust coated every step. The air hung damp and musty, thick enough that he had to cover his nose with his arm. The 5th floor hallway was dead silent. The corridor lights had long been switched off, leaving the whole floor swallowed in darkness. The only light came from his cell phone flashlight, its beam trembling slightly as it swept the path ahead. Every door along the hallway was locked from the outside. Dust lay undisturbed over everything. Mr. Witcheye kept walking until he finally reached room 502. The moment he arrived, he noticed something unusual. Unlike every other room, the door to room 502 was not locked. It stood slightly ajar, just open enough for a faint sound to slip out from inside. His heartbeat grew louder, slowly, very slowly. He crept closer to the door. With shaking hands, he gently pushed it open. As the door creaked wider, the strange sound sharpened into something clearer. Inside, the air felt cold and damp, the smell of mold mixed with rust, and beneath it, the rotten stench of sewage drifting from the bathroom. Then, from somewhere in the darkness, Mr. Witcheye heard something unmistakable, the sound of water splashing. It sounded exactly like someone struggling desperately to survive. The rush of water, mixed with faint, shallow breathing, echoed from the bathroom at the back of the room. Without thinking, Mr. Witcheye rushed forward and shoved the bathroom door open. What he saw made him freeze. A woman lay inside the bathtub. Her skin was pale, almost lifeless. Her long hair clung wet and heavy around her body. Her empty eyes stared blankly up at the ceiling. She looked like someone who had already taken her final breath. Her body floated motionless in the water. There was no sign of life in her at all. The instant Mr. Witcheye saw her, raw terror seized him completely. He staggered backward out of the bathroom and spun toward the entrance, desperate to escape and call for help. But then, the entrance door slammed shut with sudden, violent force. The deafening crash echoed across the entire floor. Mr. Witcheye flinched hard. His mind went utterly blank. He stood frozen, staring at the closed door in disbelief. Then, within the heavy silence, a sound came from behind him, the sound of someone slowly rising up out of the water, followed by a weak, trembling whisper.
I'm so cold.
The voice sent a chill crawling through his entire body. He didn't dare turn around. Instead, he rushed to the door and frantically twisted the doorknob. It wouldn't budge, as if something on the other side was holding it tightly shut. Behind him, the sound drew nearer. With every bit of strength he had left, Mr. Witch-Eye twisted the knob as hard as he could and yanked the door with all his might. The door burst open. Without looking back, Mr. Witch-Eye bolted out of the room. He tore down the emergency staircase as fast as his legs could carry him. He didn't stop until he burst into the hotel lobby. There, he found his senior coworker sitting behind the front desk, almost as if the man already knew exactly what had happened. He immediately stood up, helped Mr. Witch-Eye sit down, and calmly said,
Take it easy. Sit down first. Calm yourself.
Mr. Witch-Eye was gasping for breath, his whole body shaking. He was so terrified he could barely get the words out. It took a while before he managed to describe everything he'd seen upstairs, but the reaction he got was nothing like what he expected. His senior listened with a calm, unreadable expression, not a trace of surprise on his face. When Mr. Witch-Eye finished, the senior said nothing for a long moment. Then he let out a heavy sigh and told him that what he'd just been through was something that had become almost routine at that hotel.
What you experienced is completely normal around here.
He explained that every employee who worked the night shift eventually got the same call. The source of the call was always room 502. Many years ago, a tragic incident had taken place in that room. A young woman had checked in with her boyfriend, and that night, the two of them got into a violent argument. During the fight, she was brutally assaulted by her boyfriend and was beaten to death. Her body was found in the bathtub the next morning. Ever since, strange things kept happening in that room. Night shift staff would get calls from room 502, and on the other end was always a woman's voice, pleading desperately for help.
Could I please have an extra blanket? It's really cold in here.
Other times, they would hear cries of pain and desperate screams. It happened over and over again, as though her spirit remained trapped in the endless cycle of the final moment of her life. There was nothing anyone could do for her. All they could do was hope that someday her soul would find peace and slowly fade away. By the time the story ended, Mr. Witch-Eye was consumed with fear. That night stayed carved into his memory. In the end, he couldn't bring himself to stay. He resigned from his job and never set foot in that hotel again. Before we wrap up, please subscribe to support this small channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss new stories. Thank you for watching and listening until the end. See you in the next video.